I've always believed that New York City never truly sleeps, but that's just the cliche, right? A rote phrase people recite whenever they want to romanticize the city's chaos. And yet, I found myself repeating those words in my head on the night I realized I wouldn't sleep either, because my heart was pounding too hard, my thoughts were spiraling too fast, and Charlotte's name echoed in my mind like a forbidden mantra. I'm Olivia, an associate attorney at a sprawling Manhattan firm with more influence than I ever imagined a workplace could wield. I was never the type to chase spotlights or hobnob with celebrities, but my job demands it. These events are half about fundraising for good causes and half about cultivating reputations. That's how I ended up at a glamorous charity gala, balancing a flute of overpriced champagne in my hand, plastering a polite smile on my face for hours on end. And then there was her, Charlotte Hale, director of a world-renowned fashion brand, effortlessly capturing the gaze of anyone in a 100-mile radius with her commanding presence. Our paths had crossed before, always in the context of these high society gatherings, always layered with subtext. She'd greet me with a smile that bordered on predatory, and I'd respond with curt politeness, feigning indifference to the tension that pulsed between us. But that evening, something crackled in the air, and from the moment I caught sight of her across the ballroom, my chest went tight. She wore a sleek black dress that clung to her curves. Her dark hair swept into a loose updo. Whenever she turned her head, the warm overhead lights caught in the gold flecks of her eyes, making them gleam. I tried not to stare, but it was no use. It wasn't just me, though. The room shifted around her, as though she were the center of gravity. I watched as potential donors and bigwigs from across industries drifted into her orbit, each hoping for a morsel of her attention. She smiled, graciously offering small talk, but her gaze kept flicking to me. Every time our eyes locked, a warning bell rang at the back of my mind, telling me to keep my distance. My heart, however, hammered in betrayal, urging me closer. In the last few months, we'd shared dozens of polite run-ins, brief, inconsequential chats about the event or the sponsor or the host. Each time, an undercurrent of possibility quivered between us, unspoken yet undeniable. I had a sense we were playing a game of push and pull. Someone was bound to break eventually, but I'd been determined it wouldn't be me. I had too much to lose. That night, everything changed. Manhattan's bright city lights cast a kaleidoscope of colors against the glass walls of the hotel's grand ballroom. The event was a fundraiser for an educational charity, one of those functions where the wealthy pat themselves on the back for philanthropic gestures that double as PR stunts. My firm had purchased a whole table, and I was there as a representative, along with a few partners and associates. I hate to sound cynical. The cause was genuinely good, and I was proud to be there to support it. But after a few hours of small talk about hedge funds and real estate investments, my cheeks ached from forced smiling, and the band's jazzy cover of Sinatra tunes grated on my ears. I ended up standing near the massive windows, sipping the last of my champagne. It was a vantage point from which I could see the entire room, including Charlotte. And she saw me. She lifted her own glass in a silent toast, locking me in place with her gaze. Even from across the space, I felt the effect of that knowing smile. My heart lurched uncomfortably, and I tore my eyes away. In that moment, I made a plan. I'd wait for my boss to signal we'd made our obligatory presence known, then slip out quietly. No need to linger, no need to give Charlotte a chance to corner me, but life rarely cares for our carefully. The instant I lowered my gaze, I felt movement in my peripheral vision. I glanced back up in time to see Charlotte crossing the room, weaving past clusters of chatting socialites. She held a fresh flute of champagne, her posture deceptively casual, but her eyes carried a predatory spark that sent my pulse racing. When she reached me, she set her champagne on a nearby table with a delicate clink. "Olivia," she said, her voice tinged with amusement. "Enjoying the party?" I mustered my best facade. As much as one can, these events are always the same. Small talk and cold hors d'oeuvres. Her laugh was warm, though her expression remained a shade too intense to be purely friendly. "You always did know how to downplay the glitz," she teased, studying me with that unwavering gaze. "You look good tonight. That color suits you." A flush crept up my neck. I wore a deep navy dress with a conservative neckline. I wasn't trying to stand out. "Thanks," I managed. "You look good too." An understatement. She looked like sin personified in that black dress, hugging every curve. Silence settled. My heart hammered. Finally, she leaned in slightly, as if imparting a secret. "So, have you made your rounds? Shaken enough hands to keep your firm satisfied?" My throat felt tight. I think so. She inclined her head toward an exit at the far end of the ballroom. Then maybe you'd like a breath of fresh air? That was my crossroads. The rational part of me screamed to politely decline, citing a phone call to return or an urgent early meeting. But then I imagined letting her walk away, and a pang of regret stung. Against my better judgment, I found myself nodding. She rewarded me with a slow smile. Shall we? We slipped out of the ballroom, past an arched doorway leading into the hotel's corridor. The plush carpet absorbed our footsteps. We made our way toward a quieter part of the building, a wing reserved for conference rooms. It was deserted at that hour, the overhead lights dimmed to conserve energy. The hush felt charged, as if the emptiness belonged to us alone. We reached a hallway lined with abstract art prints. Charlotte paused, facing me, her eyes roving over my features. I didn't think you'd say yes, she murmured. I laughed, the sound shaky. Neither did I. I guess I wanted to see where you were going with this. She tilted her head, her lips curving. I've been thinking about it for a while, actually. A flutter of anticipation twisted my stomach. Thinking about what? The corners of her mouth lifted even more. About what would happen if I got you alone. The directness in her voice stole my breath. We've been dancing around each other at these events for months now. Don't you feel it? Yes, I whispered, hardly believing I was admitting it aloud. She stepped closer, bridging the gap, the subtle warmth of her body radiating through the air. My heart pounded so loudly I worried she could hear it. I wanted to close my eyes, but I forced them open, meeting her gaze. What are we doing? I asked, voice trembling. Her hand brushed my wrist, then slid down to lace our fingers together. Whatever we want, she said softly. Unless you tell me no. I swallowed. I don't want to say no. For a heartbeat. We stood there in the hush of that corridor, the faint hum of distant activity from the gala drifting through closed doors. Then, as if a silent signal passed between us, we turned and started walking deeper into the hotel's labyrinth, searching for somewhere more private, somewhere the lines between sense and impulse could blur without an audience. We found a side corridor leading to a private elevator, presumably for VIP guests staying in the penthouse suites. I noticed a gilded sign reading "Executive Floors" near the polished brass doors. Charlotte pressed the call button. I've got a friend who's staying in the executive suite, she explained casually. It's vacant for the evening while she's out of town. She offered me the key if I ever needed a quiet place to regroup at these big events. My pulse quickened. Is that so? She gave a non-committal shrug, though her eyes gleamed with mischief. It pays to have connections in this city. Before I could process the implications, the elevator dinged. The doors slid open to reveal a small, elegant interior lined with mirrors and subdued lighting. We stepped inside, and Charlotte pressed the button for the top floor. The doors closed, enveloping us in a cocoon of hush. That's when she turned to me, her gaze flicking between my eyes and my mouth. My heart threatened to leap out of my chest. This was the moment. Every conversation, every stolen glance led here. My lips parted, but no words came out. I wasn't sure what to say. She took the choice from me. In one smooth motion, Charlotte surged forward, backing me against the elevator wall. Her hands framed my face, delicate yet insistent, and her lips found mine. The kiss was urgent, a spark igniting tinder we'd both spent months gathering. A soft sound, maybe a sigh, escaped me as I melted under the onslaught. She tasted of champagne and daring, and my entire body thrummed with adrenaline. We clung to each other as though starved, the heat of her mouth obliterating rational thought. My fingers curled into the fabric of her dress, pulling her closer. She made a low noise in the back of her throat, deepening the kiss. I lost track of everything else. The hum of the elevator, the shift of the lights, even the faint beep indicating floors passing. All that existed was the press of her body, the slide of our mouths, the electric friction that left me dizzy. A distant beep and lurch signaled the elevator's arrival. The moment fractured. Panting, we pulled apart just as the doors began to open. I tried to catch my breath, composing myself enough to see outside the elevator. And there, beyond the threshold, stood a small group of people, a cluster of well-dressed individuals in conversation. They paused mid-sentence, turning to see who emerged from the private elevator. The hush was immediate. Realization thundered through me. My hair was disheveled, my dress likely askew, my lipstick smeared. Charlotte stood equally ruffled, chest rising and falling as she tried to regain composure. We must have been quite the sight, clearly entangled in something we shouldn't have been, in a hotel elevator no less. For a split second, no one moved. I recognized at least 2 faces from my firm, a partner known for his love of gossip, and a junior associate wide-eyed in shock. My stomach plunged. This was a PR fiasco in the making, not to mention an open invitation for rumors that could jeopardize both my position and Charlotte's. But Charlotte, she simply blinked, took a shallow breath, and then, with impressive calm, grabbed my hand and led me forward, as if brazenly ignoring the stares. My mind whirled, but I followed, swallowing the panic that threatened to choke me. We stepped out of the elevator, and time seemed to unfreeze. The onlookers parted like the Red Sea, their expressions a mixture of surprise and curiosity. I overheard a hissed whisper, "Is that Charlotte Hale? With Olivia?" For a fleeting moment, I considered turning around, hitting the elevator button, and fleeing, but Charlotte's grip on my hand felt reassuring. She walked with confidence, guiding me right past them. My heart hammered, each step an invitation for scandal. My brain screamed, "This is going to be a problem, you know?" But as Charlotte shot me a glance laced with amusement, I realized part of me didn't care. We reached the end of a short hallway, where Charlotte produced a key card from her clutch. She opened a door leading into a lavish suite, plush carpet, understated modern furniture, and a floor-to-ceiling window showcasing Manhattan's twinkling skyline. The faint hum of the city's traffic filtered through the glass. The interior lights were dim, giving everything a soft glow. As soon as the door clicked shut behind us, the weight of what had just happened pressed down on me. I leaned against the door, my hand still entwined with Charlotte's, my pulse hammering. "That was insane," I managed, inhaling raggedly. Charlotte turned, arching a brow. "Insane? You didn't seem to mind." A hint of laughter lurked in her tone, but her eyes were watchful. I let out a shaky breath. "We were basically caught in the elevator. Did you see their faces?" She shrugged, letting go of my hand and stepping further into the suite. "I did, and I still can't bring myself to regret it." A flush crept up my neck, a riot of emotions swirling. We might have just given half the city's social circuit a show. People from my firm, my boss might hear about this. Your brand executives, the press, if a reporter was there. "How can you be so calm?" She pivoted, facing me with a slow smile. "If we get caught, we get caught. Life's too short to cower behind what other people might say." She took a step closer, voice low. "But if you want to walk away, I won't stop you." Something about her confidence stirred both frustration and longing in me. "I'm not sure if I can afford to be so bold," I admitted, thinking of the older partners at the firm who thrived on judging others. My boss's stern warnings about maintaining a pristine personal image, the cutthroat environment of Manhattan's legal scene. "This could cost me everything." Charlotte's expression softened. "Look, I get it. You have responsibilities, a reputation to protect. So do I." She came near, gently brushing her fingers along my arm. "But sometimes, the real mistake is letting fear decide for you." I stared at her, my resolve faltering in the glow of her gaze. She was right. I had spent so long curating my image, avoiding scandal. And there she stood, poised in front of me with the city lights behind her, a challenge incarnate. My heart galloped, torn between the future I'd carefully built and the temptation standing inches away. Gently, Charlotte tipped my chin up, searching my eyes. "Do you want this?" she asked softly. I hesitated, words failing me. Then, with a shiver, I nodded. The tension slid from her shoulders, and her lips curved in something that wasn't quite a smile, more a satisfied acknowledgement. She leaned in, brushing her mouth over mine. This time, the kiss was gentler, more deliberate, a tether that drew me in with frightening ease. We lingered in that suite for only a few minutes longer. The tension in the air was almost too thick, the unspoken knowledge that we'd been caught kissing in the elevator overshadowing any illusions of privacy. My phone buzzed with a half-dozen notifications. I recognized my coworker's name on the screen, along with messages from acquaintances who might have seen me. My gut twisted. Charlotte picked up on my anxiety, her brow furrowing. "You're going to worry about this all night if we stay here," she said softly. "Let's leave. We can talk somewhere else, or not talk at all. Whatever you want." She paused, then added with a ghost of a grin, "I promise. No elevator ambush this time." I exhaled a shaky laugh. "We need a real exit, though. If we walk back through the lobby, we might run into half the people from that floor." She smirked. "Don't worry. I know a side exit." She took my hand, guiding me out of the suite and down a service hallway that bypassed the large gathering near the elevator banks. My stomach jittered with the excitement of a clandestine escape, half expecting to run into more watchers. But we reached a narrow, unremarkable door that opened onto the side street behind the hotel. Dim streetlights bathed the curb in an orange glow, the city's cacophony muted in the distance. A black sedan sat idling at the curb. Charlotte inclined her head toward it, apparently having arranged a car. We slid into the back seat. The driver, an older gentleman, greeted Charlotte courteously, ignoring our slightly frazzled states. She gave him an address, and we merged into the New York night. Silence enveloped us in the back seat, not from discomfort, but from an electric undercurrent neither of us dared break. I caught my reflection in the window. Flushed cheeks, lipstick smudged, hair askew. With a small, self-conscious laugh, I tried smoothing my hair. Charlotte watched, amusement flickering over her face. "You like messing with me, don't you?" I asked, half chiding, half teasing. She let her hand rest on my knee, the gesture intimate. "I like seeing you lose the perfect composure you always wear. It's thrilling." Her fingertips toyed with the hem of my dress, sending little sparks up my leg. "Because you're fascinating when you let go, Olivia." I tried to muster a rebuttal, but her boldness left me tongue-tied. "This is a terrible idea," I managed finally, her lips curved. "Maybe, but a lot of memorable nights start with a terrible idea." She leaned closer, the scent of her perfume wrapping around me. My breath caught, recalling how we'd been in that elevator mere minutes ago, devouring each other's lips. The memory stoked my pulse anew. She was right. Maybe it was insane, but some part of me craved that madness. My mind wandered to the what-ifs. What if I gave in to this reckless attraction? Consequences be damned. Could I handle the fallout if someone from my firm deemed my behavior unprofessional? Or if tabloids ran a piece on Charlotte's scandalous elevator makeout? I didn't know, but the thought of stopping now made my chest ache. So I stayed silent, letting my hand cover hers on my knee. She squeezed my fingers in reply, a silent acknowledgement that we were both stepping off a precarious ledge together. The driver eventually pulled up to an elegant building on the Upper East Side, complete with a grand awning and uniformed doorman. Charlotte opened the door, beckoning me out. My heart hammered as I followed her across the sidewalk. Under normal circumstances, I might have felt self-conscious about setting foot in one of these uber-luxurious complexes, but her unwavering composure made me feel safe in the moment. We rode the elevator, thankfully empty, to her floor. The corridor was quiet, thick carpeting muffling our steps. She unlocked a door near the end, revealing a sprawling apartment with high ceilings, tasteful modern art, and floor-to-ceiling windows offering a sweeping view of the city lights. My breath caught at the opulence. She flicked on a lamp, the glow highlighting sleek furniture and polished floors. Turning to me, she offered a small, almost shy smile. "Make yourself at home." I stepped inside, my heels clicking on the hardwood, eyes sweeping over the space. A wave of uncertainty washed over me. The events of the night, our elevator kiss, the stares from onlookers, my phone buzzing with potential fallout, pressed on my mind. Sensing my hesitation, Charlotte walked over, gently taking my clutch and setting it on an accent table. She slid my coat off my shoulders, letting it drape over a nearby chair. Then she met my gaze. "You're trembling." I looked down, noticing the slight shake in my hands. "It's a lot," I admitted in a hushed voice. "I've spent my entire career building a reputation for being level-headed, professional. Now I'm hooking up with the city's biggest fashion powerhouse in an elevator at a charity gala. My colleagues probably saw me." Her features softened. "If you regret it, say the word." A swirl of emotions pummeled my chest. Did I regret it? The rational part of me wanted to say yes, to salvage my life of neat lines and safe decisions. But deep in my gut, a thrill stirred at the memory of her mouth on mine, her scent enveloping me. "I don't know if I regret it," I breathed. "I'm terrified, but also—" She leaned in, pressing a feather-light kiss to my temple. "Then let's figure it out in the morning," she whispered. "Right now, we can just be two people who want each other. Nothing more complicated than that." A wave of relief and longing collided. Maybe this moment of reckless abandon was exactly what I needed. I nodded, letting Charlotte's warmth chase away my fear. She led me further into the apartment, flicking on a few more low lights until the living room glowed with a soft, golden hue. The city sparkled outside the windows, a million lights mirroring the swirl of possibility in my veins. She faced me again, her expression taut with hunger and a note of tenderness. The moment crackled. Then she closed the distance, her lips meeting mine in a slow, deliberate kiss. Different from the urgent elevator embrace, this was unhurried, savoring each second. My eyes fluttered shut, and I let myself sink into the sensation, the tension in my body melting under her touch. Soon, the kiss intensified, our hands roaming each other's bodies, fueling the spark that had lingered for months. The stress from the night's potential scandal receded. Right then, Charlotte was the only thing that mattered. Time blurred. We moved from the living room to a hallway leading to her bedroom. Along the way, we exchanged whispers, half laughing about the insanity of our elevator scene, half dreading the dawn. My phone buzzed intermittently from my clutch, but I ignored it. The bedroom was a serene space with minimalist decor, a massive bed layered with plush blankets. Charlotte guided me onto it, her grin turning mischievous. Heat flared in my cheeks, but any embarrassment was lost to the exhilarating rush. We fell into each other's arms, a tangle of limbs and kisses that scorched away the veneer of perfect composure I'd clung to for so long. I'd never been so aware of each sensation. The friction of fabric on my skin, the soft exhalations against my ear, the thunder of my heartbeat. Charlotte's caresses left me trembling, my own hands mapping her curves as if memorizing them. For so long, we'd danced around this desire, and now we indulged it without restraint. Every now and then, her low voice cut through the haze, murmuring reassurances or teasing remarks that made me arch against her. I responded in kind, surprising myself with how bold I could be. The night stretched on, every second an unfolding testament to the chemistry we'd pretended to ignore. When at last we collapsed in a heap of tangled sheets, the city lights still blinked outside, and the clock on the nightstand read nearly 3 a.m. My body felt languid, a pleasant ache settling in. I lay with my head on Charlotte's chest, listening to her breathing slow. She pressed a lazy kiss to my forehead. "You okay?" she murmured, sounding half drowsy. I nodded against her. "Yeah," I said softly, though a pang of uncertainty nipped me. "Yes, just thinking." Her arm tightened around me. "Let it wait until morning." She suggested. "Don't let the world barge in here yet." I closed my eyes, exhaling. She was right. The world could wait for just a few more hours. I drifted to sleep eventually, lulled by the warmth of her body and the distant hum of traffic. But morning came far too soon. Pale sunlight filtered through the curtains, prodding me awake. For a moment, I savored the comfortable weight of the blankets, the soft hush of Charlotte's apartment. Memories of the night flooded back in a delicious rush, but reality intruded the instant I opened my eyes fully. My phone beeped from somewhere beyond the bed. Gently, I disentangled myself from Charlotte's loose embrace. She slept on, hair tousled, face serene, and rummaged in the living room for my clutch. The screen displayed a cluster of missed calls and texts. My boss's name was among them. My stomach churned. Without thinking, I tapped on a text. "Boss. Olivia. Call me ASAP. There's a situation we need to discuss. Heard some rumors? Where are you?" My heart sank. So it was happening already. The firm's rumor mill apparently wasted no time. Grimacing, I typed a quick reply, saying I'd check in as soon as possible. I'd have to face the consequences, but I wasn't sure I was ready. Footsteps approached behind me. I turned to see Charlotte in a plush robe, hair messy but eyes alert. She held 2 mugs of coffee, steam curling upward. "Morning," she said gently, offering 1 mug. I accepted it, murmuring thanks. "I have about 15 missed calls," I admitted, sipping the hot brew. "My boss is summoning me. The rumor about us got out, I guess." She nodded, though a flicker of concern crossed her features. "I'm sorry if this complicates things for you. If it's any consolation, I'm sure it'll blow over quickly. People love a scandal, but it's not the end of the world." I hoped she was right, but worry gnawed at me. "I just don't want to lose my job," I whispered. "I can't even imagine what they're saying." Charlotte set her coffee aside and reached for my free hand. "Listen," she said earnestly. "I know how this city works. Yes, there might be talk. Some tabloids might hype it up because of my position. Your firm might raise an eyebrow, but if we stand our ground and act like adults, it can be managed. Is your firm so conservative that they'd fire you for a personal life matter?" I bit my lip. They're not that archaic, but they're big on professional image and avoiding controversies. My mind raced to all the times the partners had cautioned associates about fraternizing with high-profile individuals in questionable ways. I can't predict how they'll react. She squeezed my hand. You're not alone in this, you know? I'll do whatever I can to keep the story from snowballing. I have a decent PR team. The brand might want me to be discreet, but I'm also not going to let them demonize you. The fierce protectiveness in her voice spurred a wave of gratitude. Thank you, I murmured. I appreciate that. More than you know. She tugged me gently into her arms. I let out a shaky breath, leaning into her warmth. For a moment, I relished the comfort, burying my face in the crook of her neck. But the practical voice in my head nagged that I needed to get ready, face the real world. Already, the edges of this little sanctuary were fraying. Eventually, we parted. She suggested I shower if I wanted, and rummaged through her closet for a spare set of clothes I could borrow. I ended up wearing a simple black blouse and tailored slacks that were a touch loose on me. My makeup was minimal, just enough to hide the exhaustion under my eyes. Charlotte offered a sly compliment, which made me smile despite the tension. She insisted on calling a car to take me to my firm's office building. As I slipped on my shoes by her front door, my phone buzzed again with a message from my coworker. A friend. Coworker. Heads up. The boss is in a mood. There's a photo going around from last night. You and Charlotte in the elevator. Are you okay? My stomach twisted. So there was photographic evidence. The insane part of the night indeed had found an audience. For a moment, I closed my eyes, feeling embarrassment burn through me. Then I steeled myself. I'd made a choice last night. I'd live with it. Charlotte walked me to the hallway, pressing a lingering kiss to my forehead. You got this, she said softly. Keep me posted. I nodded, offering a small, tight smile. I will. The ride to the firm was a blur of mounting dread. I stared out the car window at the bustling city streets, each passerby leading a life unencumbered by my scandal. The building housing my law firm loomed overhead, steel and glass reflecting the morning sun. My chest constricted as I walked in, expecting judgment in every corner. Inside the lobby, I forced a polite greeting to the security guard, who recognized me. I tried to gauge if he'd heard anything, but he just nodded. On the elevator ride up, I felt a flashback to the previous night. My cheeks heated, remembering Charlotte's lips, her breath against my skin. An older colleague joined me, offering a polite, "Good morning." I mustered a faint nod, ignoring the suspicious glint in his eye. At my floor, I stepped into the corridor leading to the associates' offices. Another coworker caught my gaze, quickly looking away as though flustered. My heart sank. Gossip was swirling. I reached my desk, set my borrowed bag down, and was about to log into my computer when my phone rang. The line said, "Partner's office." Bracing myself, I answered. "Olivia speaking." My boss's voice came through, gruff. "Olivia, can you come to my office right away?" "Yes, sir." I hung up, smoothing my slacks. This was it. I traversed the hallway toward his corner office, every step making my stomach churn. The door was slightly ajar, so I knocked gently. His assistant gave me a nod, eyes flicking with sympathy, then gestured me inside. He was seated behind a mahogany desk, a tablet in front of him. Tall windows behind him overlooked Midtown. He motioned for me to close the door. I complied, heart pounding. "Olivia," he said, removing his reading glasses. "I'm sure you know why I called you in." I mustered a professional tone. "I assume it's about last night." He nodded curtly, tapping the tablet's screen. "We have a situation. A photo circulated. Someone snapped a shot of you and Charlotte Hale in an elevator, apparently in a compromising position." He coughed, clearing his throat. "It's trending in certain circles, and I've had calls from a couple of the partners who were approached by acquaintances asking if this is some scandal involving the firm." My cheeks flared with heat. "I didn't realize there was a photograph. It was a personal moment, not relevant to the firm's business." He held up a hand. "Be that as it may, everything you do in public can reflect on the firm's reputation. We pride ourselves on a certain standard. It's not about your personal life, necessarily, but about the optics. We have multiple big clients who are conservative or cautious about negative press. This situation concerns them." Shame bit at me, but I fought to stay composed. "I understand. Is there a specific action the firm wants me to take?" He exhaled. "At this stage, we're discussing it. Some partners want a strong stance, maybe a private warning or a formal complaint in your file. Others think it'll blow over, but we need to see how the press handles it. The rumor is that Charlotte's brand might issue a statement, or not." He lifted his gaze, stern. "I'd advise you to keep a low profile. No more stunts. Let's see if this fades from public attention." A swirl of relief and dread encompassed me. "Of course," I said, struggling to maintain a level voice. "I'll be discreet." He studied me for a moment, his expression softening slightly. "Look, you're a good attorney, Olivia, and we value your work. No one wants to hamper your personal life, but these sorts of headlines can be tricky. If the tabloids keep fanning the flames, we might have to do some damage control. Understood?" I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. "Yes, sir." He gestured toward the door. "That's all for now. Keep your head down. We'll reevaluate in a few days. Understood?" "Yes." "Thank you." I turned, my pulse roaring in my ears. As I left, the tension in my shoulders nearly buckled me. I returned to my office, half expecting the walls to be plastered with scandalous headlines. Of course they weren't, but the stares from a few coworkers told me enough. My phone buzzed. A message from Charlotte. "Charlotte, hey, everything okay?" I glanced around. Paranoia flared, wondering if people were watching me, even read her text. Quickly, I typed, "Me. Boss gave me a warning. Nothing severe yet, but there's a photo from the elevator. My entire office is buzzing with gossip." Her reply came almost immediately. "Charlotte, I'm sorry. Love, my PR team is on it. They might release a short statement downplaying it. Are you free tonight? Let's talk it through." I stared at the screen, my heart twisting at the casual endearment. "Love." A tiny spark of warmth lit my chest, but I hesitated. Another night with Charlotte might be reckless. Then again, I was already in deep, and I wanted to see her. "Me. I'll meet you tonight. Let's pick somewhere private." She answered with an address for a bar that was discreet, known for its hush. I closed my phone, steeling myself for a day of prying glances and half-whispered rumors. If it got me through to the evening, I could at least talk to Charlotte and figure out how to handle the next steps. And so, I managed to slog through client calls, drafting briefs, and an afternoon meeting. The tension never left me, but I forced my mind to focus. By late afternoon, I was drained, longing for the day to end. My phone dinged again, this time from an unknown number. Unknown. "Hey, it's Travis from the local business magazine. Could we get a quote about your involvement with Charlotte Hale?" My blood turned cold. The press had my number. I blocked that number and cursed under my breath. This was the last thing I needed. Direct contact from the media. Shots of me and Charlotte in an elevator. A gossipy meltdown about a scandalous fling. Even if it was just a photo of a kiss, the narrative could spin out of control. When the clock finally hit 6, I grabbed my coat and bag, ignoring the pointed looks from colleagues. The elevator ride down to the lobby was excruciating. Any reflection of me in the mirrored walls conjured images of the previous night's embrace. But I forced myself to step out confidently and exit the building. I hailed a cab, gave the address Charlotte had sent, and sank into the seat. The bar Charlotte had chosen was low-key and intimate, nestled in a side street near the village. No sign proclaimed its name, just a discreet door with a single light overhead. Perfect for hush-hush meetings, apparently. I stepped inside to find dim lighting, plush booths, and a gentle hum of low conversation. A jazz trio played quietly in the corner. Charlotte stood at the bar, swirling a cocktail in her hand. She wore a tailored suit jacket over a silk blouse, her expression pensive until she spotted me. Then her face brightened, a small, relieved smile curving her lips. She beckoned me over. "Everything okay?" she asked softly once I was within earshot. I let out a weary sigh, sliding onto the bar stool beside her. "I guess my boss read me the riot act, but it's not an official discipline yet. They're waiting to see if the press runs wild with this or if it fades." She nodded, glancing at the bartender. "Vodka martini, extra olives," she guessed, remembering my preference from a previous conversation. I nodded with a grateful smile. She signaled the bartender, then turned back to me. "I talked to my brand's PR team. They said we should either remain silent or issue a brief denial that it's a serious matter. I told them not to mention your name. They might simply say we're friends or something like that." I fiddled with a napkin, tension coiling in my chest. "Are we just friends?" Her lips twisted. "We're something else, obviously," she exhaled. "But maybe publicly, for now, that's the narrative. I want to keep you out of the press." I studied her, my heart twisting with contradictory emotions. That might be for the best. The bartender placed my martini in front of me, and I took a long sip. The crisp alcohol steadied my nerves. "Charlotte," I began softly. "What are we doing here?" She considered me, swirling the dregs of her drink. "Enjoying each other, I guess. At least, That's how it started. Maybe it's more, I won't pretend we're just hooking up. I'm drawn to you in ways that surprise me. My stomach fluttered. I feel the same, but this is dangerous. We could both face fallout. Your brand might not appreciate your name being linked to a rumored affair. My firm is raising eyebrows. We're living under a magnifying glass. She set her glass down, turning on her stool to face me. I know, and I can't promise it'll be easy, but I also know I don't want to give this up. Unless you do. Her gaze burned into me, searching. Did I want to walk away? The prudent part of me whispered yes, urging me to sever ties, salvage my professional future, avoid heartbreak. Yet the vivid memory of her kisses, the way my pulse soared around her, insisted I'd regret letting go. I bit my lip. I don't want to give it up either, I admitted, voice trembling. I'm scared, though. She leaned in, capturing my hand. We can take it slow, figure out how to handle the public side. We'll be careful, but I want to keep seeing you, if you'll let me. Emotion clogged my throat. Okay, I whispered, my hand tightening around hers. We'll navigate the madness. Her shoulders relaxed, relief washing over her features. Good, she said softly, her lips curving in that familiar way that made my heart skip. It's you and me, then. Over the following weeks, we developed a routine, a balancing act between public caution and private passion. We avoided any spectacle, limiting our official interactions to polite smiles or minimal eye contact when we happened to attend the same events. Yet away from prying eyes, we thrived. Dinners in hidden corners of the city, quiet nights in her Upper East Side apartment, stolen weekends away from Manhattan's glare. The press continued to swirl rumors. A few tabloids posted grainy images from that infamous elevator moment, with salacious headlines like, Elevator Fling, Charlotte Hale's Secret Romance. My phone still buzzed occasionally with messages from colleagues or acquaintances. Is it true? Did you really? I brushed them off, focusing on my legal cases with renewed determination, determined to prove that my performance wouldn't waver under gossip. My boss, after monitoring the chatter, eventually let me know that while the firm was slightly concerned, they had no immediate intention of punishing me. The story was overshadowed by bigger, flashier scandals in the city within a couple of weeks. The paparazzi turning their lenses towards some Hollywood actor's meltdown. That left me breathing easier, though I remained vigilant. Meanwhile, Charlotte's brand's official statement was a mere few lines, stating that Charlotte's private life was her own and that no brand-related matters were impacted. The mention of me was conspicuously absent, which I appreciated. The rumor mill sizzled for a short time but never fully erupted, overshadowed by Manhattan's endless cycle of new drama. As for us, we navigated the shift from a clandestine fling to something more. Some nights, we'd talk late into the evening about our pasts, our hopes, even letting slip bits of vulnerability that neither of us usually showed. She confessed how the fashion world's relentless scrutiny had shaped her into someone who rarely let others close. I told her how the law firm's grueling environment forced me to bury my spontaneity. We found common ground in the pressure to always appear in control. She taught me how to bend the rules without snapping them. I reminded her that some rules exist to protect you from yourself. The tension that once pulsed between us in public events morphed into a deeper bond, but it wasn't perfect. We had disagreements over how to proceed publicly. Sometimes she wanted to attend a function together, while I insisted we keep a low profile. Other times, I got swamped with a big case, ignoring her messages for days, leaving her feeling shut out. We argued, apologized, and occasionally made up in ways that left us both breathless and laughing in bed. Still, the memory of that elevator kiss lingered, always overshadowing us with the knowledge that we were balancing on a precarious line. We'd jump if we had to, but for now, we held tight to each other. One evening, about a month after our initial scandal, we decided to meet at a small cocktail lounge downtown, a place known for its discretion and refined ambiance. I arrived first, claiming a booth in a dim corner, the polished wood table reflecting the muted overhead lights. My nerves sparked. We'd agreed this was the night we'd talk about making our relationship public, or at least less hidden. Charlotte had a brand event the next week, and she wanted me by her side. But I was terrified. Charlotte arrived in a sleek trench coat over an emerald green dress that hugged her figure. She slid into the booth across from me, her eyes bright with affection. "Hey," she said softly, leaning across to press a quick kiss to my cheek, something we rarely did in public. I felt a thrill at the simple gesture. She signaled a server, ordering us both drinks, my usual martini, her whiskey neat. Then she looked at me with that unwavering gaze. "So, About this event next week. I want you there, as my date, or companion, partner, whatever term you prefer. My heart pounded. You realize that would basically confirm everything people suspected from that elevator fiasco? A faint grin. Yes, I do. But we've weathered the storm, haven't we? The press mostly left us alone. If we show up together, maybe some will squawk. But so what? They'll move on, or we can spin it as a respectful partnership. We're not doing anything shameful. She reached across the table, letting her fingertips graze my hand. I'm tired of sneaking around, Liv. I exhaled, the old fear coiling in my chest. I know. It's just, the firm is okay with me not being in the tabloids anymore. But if I show up with you in front of cameras, they might resurrect the scandal. My position as a potential partner one day might be jeopardized. Her lips pressed into a thin line. I get it. But do you want to hide forever? I shook my head, tears pricking the backs of my eyes. No. I just don't want to lose everything I've worked for. Her posture softened. I understand. I can't promise it won't stir up more headlines. But the more open we are, the less rumor power they have. Ironically, also, people's attention spans are short. If we show up together, it might create a stir for a moment, then fizzle out once they see we're just, well, us. A swirl of emotions overcame me. Relief at the thought of not hiding, terror at the backlash. But as I studied her face, the sincerity in her eyes, I realized I was done letting fear rule me. I'd spent so long living in a tight box of expectations. Now, with Charlotte, I felt free in a way I never had. I slid my hand fully into hers. Okay, I said quietly. I'll go with you, publicly. Her face lit with a radiant smile, and she squeezed my hand. We'll face it together, no matter what insane reaction follows. My chest lifted, hope mingling with adrenaline. That was it, then. We were done with illusions, stepping into the light as a pair. The brand event arrived with the typical Manhattan fanfare. Red carpets, fashion photographers, and a swirl of celebrities. My chest seized with anxiety as we pulled up in Charlotte's car. Paparazzi crowded near the entrance, flashbulbs popping. Charlotte turned to me, her hand resting on my knee in the back seat. We can do this. I forced a tight smile. We can. My heart hammered, but a thrill of determination ran through me. Enough sneaking around, enough letting others' opinions define me. We stepped out together. The cameras clicked, capturing our intertwined hands. A low murmur ran through the crowd. We didn't run, didn't hide. Instead, we walked the short path to the door, heads high. I saw a few faces in the throng, recognized a tabloid writer who had tried to contact me once. She seemed triumphant at the sight of us, but I refused to wilt under her stare. Inside, the event bustled with energy. Charlotte introduced me to a few fashion icons, letting them know I was someone important in her life, not just her attorney friend. My cheeks heated, but pride mingled with that fluster. Some people gave us pointed smiles, others wide-eyed surprise, but no one erupted in scandal. The world did not end. Yes, we fielded some prying questions from acquaintances. Yes, I was sure phone cameras snapped pictures. But the night ended with the two of us heading home with our heads still attached. My phone free of meltdown messages from my boss. It turned out that in a city of endless stories, our revelation wasn't quite as cataclysmic as we'd feared. As we collapsed in Charlotte's apartment that evening, her arms around me, I felt a wave of relief. The memory of that first insane elevator kiss flickered through my mind, reminding me how far we'd come. The swirling fear of discovery, the tension of the next morning's consequences. Somehow, we'd navigated them all. I pressed a kiss to the corner of her mouth. I guess sometimes you have to risk the insane to find something real, I whispered. She smiled against my lips, echoing that hushed warmth. Couldn't have said it better. And as we settled into each other's arms, the city pulsed around us, still brimming with stories, still refusing to sleep. But for once, I didn't mind. I'd found a reason to stay awake, to keep living boldly in the endless hum of Manhattan's midnight. And you? Have you ever risked everything for a desire impossible to ignore?